live in interesting times. Today's stories. Closing borders to travelers from China may in fact increase the spread of coronavirus. Black market insulin for American diabetics. A ninth grade student invents a solar water purifier. Elections in the capital city of Bangladesh are polluting the community. The border wall, no match for strong winds. Pictures of the sun like you've never seen it before. Forests are already regenerating in Australia. Tourists are scaring off penguins in South Africa. Plenty on display in Toronto for would-be sailors. In sports, Kobe Bryant is remembered. And a member of the Toronto Raptors is an NBA All-Star. I'm Thomas I. Likeness with Eagle News, broadcasting from our studio in Edmonton, Canada, bringing you stories from around the globe. Travel restrictions will not stop the spread of coronavirus infection. That opinion from the World Health Organization. The WHO has declared a global health emergency over the viral epidemic that originated in China. Let's take a look at the numbers. More than 10,000 people in at least 20 countries have been infected. The outbreak has claimed more than 210 lives. Canada and several other countries are telling people not to travel to China, but other countries have closed their borders to people who have recently visited China. But do those measures work? According to the World Health Organization, no. The WHO warns that closing borders could in fact increase the spread of the infection. WHO official Christian Lindmeier says people will find other ways of getting into a country if official border crossings are closed.
That travel and trade restrictions are not recommended by the WHO. It might be a logical step to first look into this and say, look, we see a danger from outside, so let's lock ourselves up. But as we know from other scenarios, be it Ebola or other cases, whenever people want to travel, they will. And if the official paths are not open, they will find unofficial paths. But the only way to control, to check fever, for example, to identify travel history, to try to monitor who's coming across your border and to see whether they have any signs of infection is through official border crossing points.
Lindmeier says it's important to stop infected people at the border and get them treated. He says if infected people get into a country undetected, there's a greater chance of spreading the virus. This story is truly tragic, and it's an indictment of the American healthcare system. Now, while the United States offers some of the best healthcare in the world, it is financially out of reach for many people. What I will show you here looks like an illegal drug deal. Well, actually it is. That's what it is. It's illegal. But what's being exchanged here is not illicit. It's life-saving medicine. It's cold this January morning in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as Abigail Hansmeyer is ready to make the deal. Annette Gentile has just received her supply of insulin. Gentile survives on a disability allowance of $1,200 a month. Her public health insurance does not cover prescription medication.
I rely on donations all the time for my insulin. I can't afford it. I don't go to the pharmacy for insulin at all.
When she can't get enough insulin to meet her needs, she's forced to ration or rely on the kindness of people like Hansmeyer. Now, you just saw Hansmeyer commit a crime, and that's because selling or even giving away prescription medication is technically illegal. Why are people doing this? In the past decade, the price of insulin in the United States has skyrocketed. It costs uninsured diabetics hundreds, some of them even thousands of dollars, and that's every month. Many living near the Canadian border rely on the cheaper drug prices their northern neighbors enjoy. Hansmeyer and Gentile are among diabetics who connect with each other over Facebook or text messages. They hand out or receive their medication free of charge, sometimes using code words such as LifeWater, and they do that to avoid detection. Nicole Smith Holt's son could not afford insulin after he was no longer covered by his parents' insurance. At age 26, less than a month after losing coverage, he was found dead from diabetic ketone acidosis. Nicole has become an advocate for lower healthcare and medication costs, and she's also one of the biggest collectors of insulin donations in the state.
It is not legal. It is absolutely illegal what I'm doing. And, at times I am concerned that I could be charged with a crime. But I think what I'm doing, it's saving people's lives, and I think that's more important.
This cache of medication in her basement fridge is worth about $50,000. Also trying to help the health of people in her country is this grade 9 student. 13-year-old Wangala Maunga lives in the African country of Zambia. Now, she's concerned about the spread of waterborne diseases, and she's invented an inexpensive solar water purifier. Maunga has won an award for the purifier, which she says runs on sunlight.
When the sunlight hits the glass, then then the foil inside the contraption reflects light onto the vessel of water, and it begins to purify. And in that process, we use condensation and evaporation processes. Then after that, the condensed water is collected, and that's what we say is a purified water.
What motivated her? Well, Maunga says she wanted to do something about the water crisis in Africa.
I hope that all the communities in Zambia could have solar water purifiers, so that we should reduce the causes and effects of contaminated water and waterborne diseases in Zambia. Then when we start in Zambia, we can go continental, then eventually global, so that we don't have to face these waterborne diseases and stuff.
She adds that her career as an inventor is just beginning.
The way it's inspiring me to do greater things than I've achieved already. And it's pushing me to greater heights, to say I can't stop now. I can't stop at the solar water purifier. I want to come up with more that can help different communities in our world, and that certain causes and effects of factors that influence underdevelopment in our communities can be improved.
With great pride, her father says his daughter is different from other children.
When you go out to the mall, the first thing you should ask for, when other children are asking for daddy buy me ice cream, should ask daddy buy me a book. She's one of the few children that I know who have a library of books. Wangala
Maunga, inventor at the young age of 13. In the capital city of Bangladesh, environmentalists not impressed with candidates running for city council. Dhaka is awash in millions. That's right, millions of plastic laminated campaign banners. Get this, there's an estimated 304 million of these things, and that has some people concerned. Activist Sharif Jamil wonders how they're going to get rid of them all.
Posters are not merely the paper, it has plastics and polythene in it that takes 400 years to be composted, and it is a major cause for the water logging in this city, and it eventually goes to the river, and if you burn it, it creates air pollution. 74 metric tons of waste will be produced from the election campaign, and among these wastes, 33 metric tons will come from the plastics used by the posters that city corporation candidates used.
The country's High Court has ordered a halt to plastic laminated posters, but that's been ignored. The black and white posters continue to festoon the streets and parks of the city housing 18 million people. Up next, part of the U.S. border wall blown over, a close-up look at the sun. We'll give you an update on the forests that have been scorched by bushfires in Australia. Tourists are threatening the survival of African penguins. And whatever floats your boat. This is Eagle News. You're watching Eagle News. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. In Southern California, on the border with Mexico, strong winds toppled part of President Trump's border wall. This section of wall was between the Mexican city of Mexicali and the U.S. city of Calexico. About 40 meters of the wall fell onto some trees on the Mexican side of the border. The winds gusted up to 60 kilometers an hour. Now, this was a new section of the barrier, and apparently the concrete had not hardened. No reports of injuries, and here you can see crews trying to stabilize it. The first images of the sun from a new telescope built in Hawaii show detail of the solar surface that we've never seen before. Now, these images reveal boiling plasma, and that plasma covers the sun in cell-like structures. The cells you see here are the size of Texas. They're the result of violent motions, transporting heat from the star's interior to its surface. The hot plasma rises in the bright centers of the cells, then cools, and finally sinks below the surface. This process is called convection. The telescope has been launched at an exciting time for astronomers, and that's because the sun's about to enter a new 11-year cycle in which it will start to produce new sunspots. Currently, it's at the low ebb of the cycle, and there are no visible spots. There's new growth in some regions of Australia's burnt forests. Just weeks after being scorched by those bushfires, plant growth is evident. Ecologist Derek Engel says one tree that is coming back is the eucalyptus.
The eucalyptus, a tree that's adapted to a fire environment, and it's reliant on the fire to actually cause seed germination for some of the species, so when the fire comes through, it burns the canopy. We end up with quite a rich ash layer underneath the tree that the seeds can then come into this nutrient-rich environment for re-spreading of the plant.
But Engel adds some regions were so badly burned that plants may not regrow.
But this is so intense that it's actually burning the seed pods themselves and wiping out that seed bank. Plus we're also losing the leaf cover, so if we do get a bit of wind and stuff, anything in the source seed bank has been blown away. So these ones are just so intense, and the scale is so huge that some of the plants just might not be able to come back.
Fires continue to burn across large areas of Australia's southeast coast. Most people think that penguins only live in the ice-covered continent of Antarctica. But, there's a species that lives in South Africa, and now scientists are fearing their very existence is being threatened by tourists who come to see the birds. Marine biologist Dr. Alison Koch says African penguin populations have been on the decline for the past 50 years. She says it's summer right now in South Africa, and this is a critical time for the penguins as they're losing their feathers.
And during this molting phase, they are not able to go into the water. They're not able to get away and escape into the water. So it's a very sensitive phase for them. It's a very important phase for them. They're not feeding at this time because they can't go into the water. So, again, all year round, it's important to keep your distance, but molting penguins are specifically under a lot of stress because they can't go and feed.
Marine activist Shamir McMowat says this is also the time of year that tourists flock to the region to see the penguins.
I see how people are taking those chances, jumping those fins at boulders when the rangers are not around. And as someone that is teaching the youth about in the environment, I don't think it's something cool, and I don't think it's something that we should be promoting.
Brian Blythe agrees that tourists are scaring the birds.
Of course, penguins attract people, tourists, which is very nice. But tourists at times can be very naughty. They feel that it's something they can touch and they can hold. But you can't hold these because they will peck you. But it does annoy them because to chase them away, or children can do the same thing.
African penguins have now been classified as an endangered species. That means they're threatened with extinction. Boating enthusiasts had plenty to look at when they attended the Toronto International Boat Show.
It might be winter here in Toronto, Canada, but it feels like summer as the city hosts North America's largest indoor boat show, the 62nd Toronto International Boat Show. Let's check it out.
For 150 years, boating has made an impact in Canadian history, travel, and lifestyle. First Nations people have built boats and canoes for travel and transport long before. Boats were eventually used by the French and British as a means of transportation and market to and from Europe. Down the road, boating and canoeing became a recreational activity for young people. Boating became very popular in Canada that boat clubs were formed, like the Royal Canadian Yacht Club. The fishing industry was also influenced by the popularity of boating and canoeing lifestyle in Canada.
Kind of grew up doing some boating and then went away, but now it's kind of come back, and now me and my family enjoy being out on the water. It's a very social and fun outing, whenever you're on the boat, so you're usually doing it with other people, so it's kind of a nice feeling to kind of family-oriented and social gathering. I came here primarily to see the sailboats, just because I enjoy sailing, so kind of made my way around this area over here.
Fast forward to 2020 here in Enercare Centre, Toronto, the 62nd Toronto International Boat Show is in full swing with about 1,200 new boats on sale and display and 550 exhibitors for boating enthusiasts. This one-week event has educational seminars on the boating lifestyles, engines, trailers, paddleboards, kayaks, and marine accessories. This event also features the second annual Toronto Indoor Wakeboarding Championships.
We've got lots of great features here at the show, great entertainment. We have the world's largest indoor lake. So what we've done is we have transformed the NHL-sized hockey arena into an indoor lake for boaters. So we've actually taken out some extra seats around the rink, which is the Ricoh Coliseum, which is now called Coca-Cola Coliseum. And in January, come down, sign up for a canoe, a kayak, a pedal boat ride. You can see a water ski show, a wakeboard show. And if you're really interested about education, we have over 300 free seminars and workshops. So a lot of people like to come to the show and learn about how to buy a boat, how to maintain a boat. And they like to talk to technicians to help them fix a problem that they might have on their boat. And then we've got a lot of people that talk about their adventures, and they might have sailed around the world. So lots of great people to listen to as well. Boating is so important to people in Canada, especially Ontario. There are so many lakes and waterways close by to people that live downtown Toronto. They've got all the lakes and rivers close by. Then you go west, you go east, you go north, and there's just hundreds and hundreds of lakes. So it's really become part of Canadian culture that people like to escape to the lake. They leave all their stresses behind. And boating does connect people, friends, families. So a lot of people, that's the big driver of why people want to get into boating, is because of that connection with family and friends and being able to leave all your worries behind.
Boating may be old, dating back more than 150 years here in Canada, yet its culture is alive and well, and it thrives as Canadians continue to explore the world through and beyond our water borders. From Enercare Centre in Toronto, Ontario, April Masong, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
Still to come, remembering Kobe Bryant. And a Toronto Raptor makes the NBA All-Stars. You're watching Eagle News. This is Eagle News. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. The tributes continue to pour in for basketball great Kobe Bryant. That story from Eagle News correspondent Agent Pangilinan.
On Sunday, January 26, former NBA star Kobe Bryant passed away at the age of 41. Bryant was involved in a helicopter accident along with 8 others in Calabasas, California. Passengers were on their way to the Mamba Academy, where dozens of children awaited their arrival for a basketball practice which would take place later that day. Sadly, Gianna, who is Bryant's 13-year-old daughter, better known as Gigi Bryant, was also aboard the helicopter and was presumed dead along with a few of her teammates and their parents. Residents in the area had difficulty seeing the helicopters through the fog on that Sunday morning, but they could hear the crash from their homes. When paramedics arrived on scene, there were no survivors. In the last month, the NBA mourned 2 legends of the sport. First, NBA Commissioner Emeritus David Stern, and now Kobe Bryant. This shocked the entire NBA community and its fans, as Kobe Bryant was a beloved figure, best known for his elite work ethic and self-proclaimed Mamba mentality. He resonated with an entire generation of players and fans worldwide, which is why he has been honored in dozens of ways, from social media posts to tributes at the Grammys, to basketball courts and memorials in the Philippines. Even the small town in Italy, which Bryant spent time during his childhood, is renaming a square in his honor. League-wide, we have seen teams let the first possession of the game run on as a 24-second shot clock violation to honor the jersey number worn by Bryant, number 24. This will be a year where tributes will continue all throughout to honor his remarkable playing career. He was drafted in 1996 and played 20 seasons in the NBA. The first 10 years of his career he wore the number 8 and won 3 championships alongside Shaquille O'Neal. In the latter half of his career, he wore number 24, which was the first number he wore at Lower Merion High School in Philadelphia. He went on to be an 18-time All-Star and 5-time champion, including 2 Finals MVPs and 1 regular season MVP. But it was more than just his awards that was so appealing to fans. He had so many breathtaking moments, like scoring 81 points in a game, the second most all-time, or scoring dozens of buzzer-beating shots to win the game. He was a performer at the highest level. And perhaps what's most fascinating is that it wasn't just basketball in which he excelled. He adopted the Mamba mentality to be a way of thinking in all aspects of life. He inspired many to put forth their very best effort and to work tirelessly towards perfection. He was successful with his business ventures, dancing, rapping, playing piano, coaching his daughter's basketball team, writing children's stories and autobiographies, selling basketball sneakers, and most famously for winning an Oscar. He won the Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film for his film, Dear Basketball. Perhaps what is most tragic is that the second part of his career after basketball was just getting started and may have been even more impactful than his professional playing career. We will never get to find out what could have been, both for Kobe and his daughter. Although Kobe Bryant is gone, his legacy still lives on in the players we watch today. Kyrie Irving learned to be clutch like Kobe. DeMar DeRozan patterned his footwork after Kobe. Devin Booker learned his fadeaway jumper from Kobe. And Giannis Antetokounmpo trained as hard as he does because of Kobe. His life will never be forgotten. From Southern Ontario, I'm Adian Pangilinan, Eagle News 1/25.
The Toronto Raptors have an entry in the NBA All-Stars. Details on that from Eagle News correspondent Zarita Sese.
7 months after winning it all and taking home the Most Improved Player award, Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors continues to have reason for celebration. Siakam was selected to represent Toronto in the 2019-2020 NBA All-Star in Chicago, which will take place in February. Not only was he selected to be part of an elite group of players, but fans across the league picked him to be a starter, where he will play alongside the likes of Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks and LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers. But more importantly, Siakam will have some familiar faces with him. Siakam will be joined by his veteran teammate Kyle Lowry, who was selected by coaches to take part in his 6th consecutive All-Star game. With the recent selection, Lowry now holds the franchise record for total All-Star appearances, outshining marquee players like DeMar DeRozan and Vince Carter. Nick Nurse and his coaching staff will also represent Toronto as they secured their spot to coach Team Giannis. This was no surprise appearance for fans of the game as Pascal continues to prove his value. Pascal is averaging 23.7 points per game, 7.6 total rebounds, and is shooting 45.7% from the field thus far. Despite coming in 3rd in player voting, Siakam did surprise many when he came 2nd in fan voting, beating out fellow Cameroon native Joel Embiid. But what is it about Siakam that has so many people in awe? Is it the impressive footwork? Perhaps it's the lightning speed that gets unleashed when he sees an open court in front of him. Or it could be the fact that his story and journey is unique and none like we've seen before. Growing up in Cameroon, the thought of playing professional basketball did not even enter Siakam's mind. In fact, Siakam was first exposed to his potential when he attended a Basketball Without Borders camp at the age of 17. It's a known fact that it was actually his father's dream to have one of his 4 sons play in the NBA. Unfortunately, his father was not able to see that dream come true in Siakam as he passed away before Pascal could even step foot on a professional court. Though Pascal Siakam is playing at the highest level of basketball, many fans can relate to him. He's a hard-working young man who plays each game honoring those who are close to him. During the biggest moments of his career, you can see that he surrounds himself with his family. When asked what this all means to him, Pascal did not hesitate to mention his father and how much this would have meant to him. Now that players and coaches are representing the Toronto Raptors, the defending champions continue to exceed everyone's expectations despite some drastic changes in the offseason. With the trade deadline looming, the rest of the league continues to watch to see what this franchise will do in hopes to win a back-to-back championship. Be sure to tune in to EBCSI to follow Toronto Raptors' journey in defending their title. In Toronto, Zarita Sese, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
That's this week's Eagle News. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. I'm 1 with 25.